Podcast 94, action. Alrighty then, and welcome to the STONED Roadie Show. It's another Saturday night special with the lovely Kathy GODSEY. And tonight we celebrate her 1 year anniversary, which was on August 24th, 2022. And tonight she celebrates her 19th appearance on the STONED Roadie Show. Of this one, the 94th edition of the STONED Roadie Show. So why don't you take it away, the lovely Kathy GODSEY?
Thank you, Craig. Well done. I'm so happy to be here. Thursday was the 1 year anniversary of my first appearance on the STONED Roadie Show. You know, we're not professionals and we certainly make a lot of mistakes, but I've definitely developed more of a comfort level in doing these shows. So, but I love it and I'm so happy to be part of it because as Craig knows, I love Lynyrd Skynyrd and I'll always love Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I'm just so happy to be part of this history. So just going back to how this all came about for me, I friended Craig on Facebook last August, and he accepted me, and I was so happy. Like, whoa, Craig Reed accepted me, and I wrote to him, and he said, give me a call sometime. So I did, and then I was talking to him. He was very, very nice, and I was telling him about the story about how I met Alan Collins, and Griff had already known this story, but they called me back a few days later and they said, hey, do you want to come on the podcast and tell your story? So that was August 24th. And that was with Gene Odom. And Gene Odom, everybody loves Gene Odom being on the podcast. So I just happened to look at some of the podcasts that I've appeared on. And that actually 28 had over 9,000 views, has had over 9,000 views. I think as of when I looked at it, it was the most viewed podcast. And I'm sure that's because of Gene, but I'm so happy to be part of it. So thank you again for having me here. And I'm just glad to have your friendship and all of the wonderful people that I've met being part of this podcast. So we did a Saturday night special last week, and it was all about Craig. We played 20 questions, and we did the 20 questions. I thought it was a lot of fun, but there were some questions that were not directly about Craig, that were things that we did not answer. So we're going to answer those tonight. There's some stories that Craig is going to talk about, some information we want to clarify. Of course, we want to give shout outs to some important people. So before we start that, Craig, did you want to talk about anything or anything that is on your mind before we start going on this one?
No, not really. Tonight's show we're supposed to be more about the original band, and I had found some controversy on Facebook about something I said about Ricky being uh, there before Bob, and that I should be ashamed of myself for saying such a thing, and I'm just, there's been a lot of controversy on, people saying that, the band should, the current tribute band should give it up. And, there's no original members. And even Johnny and Ricky have been asking fans, what they think they should do, and right before Gary died, he kind of tried to solidify the fact that Ricky was a member of the original band, and like the question I was posing, that Ricky was kind of like there before Bob, but everybody, true Skynyrd fans know that Bob and Ronnie and Gary kind of started Lynyrd Skynyrd, and then they got Alan, and then and then and then and then the bass player Larry Junstrom came in, and then and then Ricky was involved, and then when Bob wasn't, actually Kathy did a little history lesson that because that was all went on before I even got involved, my backyard and all that thing. I've only heard what was going on from Gary and Ronnie and everybody, and and about the history about everybody, but all I know is Curtis Lowe was written about Ricky's grandfather, and Ricky was around him that whole time. And I was, to me, Ricky is an original member of Lynyrd Skynyrd, and to Gary he was too. So to me that's good enough to seal that deal. So whatever they feel like doing, good enough for me. But I just want to talk a little bit about the original band. We've kind of swayed away here in the last little while for against questions about the skin information that everybody wants to know, and and everybody really wants to talk about the original band. So we were gonna try to get back to that format here tonight. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as I'm concerned, Lynyrd Skynyrd is like the pre-crash Lynyrd Skynyrd. They were Lynyrd Skynyrd, but everybody has different opinions. But I just decided, I went yesterday, I just looked on Wiki. I mean, Wiki, it's not, people will say, oh, there's information wrong, correct, but I'm just going to read what I found on Wiki. And if this is incorrect, then I didn't write it, I just found it on there. But this is what it said. Lynyrd Skynyrd was formed in 1964. The original group included Ronnie, Gary, Alan, Larry on bass, and Bob Burns on drums. They were called My Backyard. They later changed their name to the Noble Five and then 1%. After performing for a couple of years, Junstrom and Burns were replaced by Greg T. Walker and Ricky Medlock. The following year, Walker was replaced by Leon Wilkeson, and Ricky moved up to third guitarist, and Bob Burns went to drums. Medlock, Ricky had left by the end of the year. Billy Powell was added as the first keyboardist, having worked as a roadie since 1970. I hope that's simple, but I looked at all of the albums, all of the Lynyrd Skynyrd albums, beginning with Pronounced, Second Helping, Nothing Fancy, Give Me Back My Bullets. I don't see Ricky Medlock being credited on any of those albums, but I do see Ricky's name on Skynyrd's First and Last. For Preacher's Daughter, White Dove, Wino, and The Seasons. And he has an amazing voice. The way he sang White Dove and The Seasons, amazing. So he's credited on the First and Last album. And then there's another album called Skynyrd's First, the Complete Muscle Shoals album. And again, he's credited for Preacher's Daughter, White Dove, Wino, The Seasons, You Run Around, and Ain't Too Proud to Pray. And it also says Ricky Medlock was in the band from February 71 to April 72 for drums and vocals, and from April 72 to mid-72 for guitar and vocals. So that's what I got. Craig, you didn't join the band till 73, right?
Yeah, the end of 73, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't, they can't ask you and expect you to know all the facts, who was there, who's not there, but that's it. And Ricky Medlock was obviously very instrumental part of the band from the beginning. So that's that. So hopefully it can put to rest all the controversy and everybody asking you all these questions.
Yeah, Rick wasn't around when I first got with the band. I didn't really meet Ricky for gosh, maybe
Yeah.
months, after I got with the band till we did a show with him somewhere. You know, it was the first time I met Mickey, but I heard a lot of stories about him. You know, but never
Yeah.
met him. Yeah.
I have the Blackfoot album, Train Train, killer song. Killer song. I love it. I would love if Ricky would come on this podcast. Come on, Ricky, because he's amazing. Yeah, I love Ricky, man. I'm his friend on Facebook. Ricky, please, I'll interview you. Just come on. So anyway, yeah, I love Ricky Medlock, and he's been around for a long time with the band. All right, so I do want to give a couple of shout outs. Doug Harris, Dylan Watson, Shari Padula, sweetheart. She's always writing me and messaging me. Now, my friends from Cranford, Antoinette McGurl and Carolyn McGurl. I've known them since I was 17. Carolyn McGurl was my friend who went with me to Jacksonville, to Daytona Beach, and accompanied me on the trip to Alan Collins' house. So if it weren't for Carolyn, having met Carolyn at Pathmark and then her saying, let's go to Daytona Beach, never would have happened. So thank you, Carolyn. And they do like the show. They're like, Kathy, we really like the show. So got some people from my hometown watching. Also, shout out to Brad Sense, Jeff Nicely, Tom Burns, Kimmy Ray. She wrote and said, hey, Kathy, I'm totally a Southern girl from the South, but I have much love for Northerners as well. I never knew any other gals who love Skynyrd as much as you. Looky, looky. I guess you do. And Cheesehead, he said in one of the comments from the podcast, he said, we'll all be dead and gone and we'll never hear all the Alan Collins stories. Cousin Figel, love him. Remember we were talking about him last week with the dog dewormer?
Oh yeah.
I have to repeat this comment. God love Cousin Figel. He said, well, I don't know yet if the dog dewormer cures cancer, but at least one thing, I'm not dragging my butt across the front lawn anymore. I think my neighbors are happy about that. He's funny. So God bless you, Cousin Figel, and please get through this. Okay. Are you ready for questions, Craig?
He is. I talk to him about it every day. He is still taking that stuff every day. He says, "Man, nothing to lose," you know. He's read a lot of articles that has worked for a lot of people. So
That's amazing.
that's
Amazing. So,
great work. Yeah.
hey, can't hurt him. All right. So anyway, there were questions, actually questions that I have them organized addressed to you. The first one is from Roy Cox. He says, how well did you get to know Ricky Medlock? Now I know that he wasn't in the band when you were there, but did you get to know him aside from that at all, or any friendships or anything? Or actually while you were working with the tribute band?
Yeah, I got to be pretty close friends with Ricky. I rode on the Milk and Cookies bus for quite a while. That was the bus that Ricky and Johnny and Gary and Dale rode on. I rode on that for quite a while, and yeah, I went back. I went down to where Ricky lives in Fort Myers. Went to his house. We all went out in the. He had some friends down there that had this one guy had a boat that would do like 110. That was like the fastest I've ever been on water. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I got to know Ricky pretty well. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
okay. How is he with fans and people?
Rick, I
Nice.
like Ricky. Yeah, he's a real nice guy. Yeah, he's real cool.
Great. Okay, Ricky, we got to get you on the show. Wayne Mulhern. He's your cousin in Australia, isn't he, Wayne?
That's what he said. He's like a seventh cousin. Yeah, he must have. He yeah, he must have been with some of the my ancestors come from England, and the English sent all their prisoners over to Australia, I guess. So one of the Reeds was a prisoner, went to Australia and got some woman over there pregnant, and he's one of them Reeds or whatever. Ancestor from one of them.
So he wants to know, what kind of mischief you got into from the time you were in kindergarten until the time you got out of high school. What were you up to, Craig, as a kid?
I was a spoiled brat. Oh my God, man. I caused so much chaos in school, all through school. I just, I
Tell us what you did. What were you doing?
oh, I just did anything to create chaos. I'm kind of it was awful.
Come on,
Yeah.
I want to hear something. Can you remember anything
Oh,
specific?
I,
Okay. All
I
right.
like
We're going to
that.
get back to you. If you
I
think of
was,
any.
I was a troublemaker. I was always doing something. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I did, I, I was, I was kind of uncontrollable in school. Well, before I left eighth grade and got to high school, I mean, I wasn't a good student in junior high school. I basically, they just sent me to high school to get rid of me. And the first day of high school, the first thing over the intercom was Craig Reed report to the office. And then he said, "We've heard about you, and we're just not going to deal with you. This is high school, So, you know, so yeah, yeah. Before did I tell before I even got to high school, I went to the high school basketball game and turned off the lights while they were playing basketball. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Yeah.
What about with the girls? How are you with the girls? Were you
Oh, I love the girls.
when did you have your first
Oh,
crush?
I was like the girls that I had a label. I was a hood, I guess, So maybe I guess because I wore a black motorcycle jacket and I thought I was Elvis. I had my hair slicked back. Yeah, I was a mess.
I love that picture of you in high school. Was that your high school graduation, your yearbook picture with your hair slick? You did look like Elvis. You did. You really did.
The little thing hanging down, yeah.
Didn't I Photoshop that picture? I put the long sideburns on you or something like that. You have to get me that picture. I remember hearing stories about how Alan was always a troublemaker. Didn't you tell the kids that? I don't know,
Yeah.
he used to scare the kids, right? He was always getting in trouble. I
Uh,
remember hearing some stories about what he would do and just try to scare the girls or do something like that. But he was a troublemaker. All righty. Um, so this is from Melissa and my friend Mike Schmidt from Cranford. They're both asking a very similar question. Which band member were you the closest to?
Oh, you know what? I saw that, and that's a tough one. That really
Yeah.
is. I mean, Leon lived here for a couple years.
Mhm.
And me and Gary were, well, me and Ronnie. I don't know. Well, at first, me and Ed were the close. Because Ed kind of hired me, and then. And then me and Artemis were the closest. And then during Rossington Collins, me and Gary became the closest. And then Leon and Bill. I was close to Leon, Billy, and it'd have to be a toss up between Leon, Gary, and Alan, and and then I thought it'd have to be ultimate. It would lead down to Gary. Me and Gary probably I was closest with Gary. Really. I mean,
Well, who is like the goofiest? Were any of them goofy or just, you know,
Gary, Gary, before he became had so much responsibility, like to clown around and do things. But yeah, Alan was a jokester, and
mm,
Leon was goofiest. I don't know. And Billy was a jokester. They all were. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a really that's a really tough question. I mean, they were all had that kind of personality. They were all jokers, and
Well,
you know,
which one were there any of them that you would have you felt more comfortable just with telling more personal things about yourself? Did you
Gary,
trust any of them? Gary?
Gary, or,
Okay.
Gary or Alan or Leon, all of them.
All of them. Okay. We get
Yeah,
back to that, Gary. So you were good friends
I
with
was
all the guys.
actually that close with all of them, where we talked
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
personal.
What
So,
about with them confiding in you and things? Did any of them?
yeah, it was both
Uh,
ways. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we talked
Okay.
about personal things. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's you're very fortunate to have had that experience. I wish I
with
had had a
Ronnie. Yeah,
close relationship with them.
Ronnie used to have some pretty intimate talks out on the boat fishing. Yet he'd get pretty personal, about some things that he'd gone through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So the next question is about you, continued from last week. It's from Jeff Wagner. He wants to know about some of the cars. Now, you've owned some cars. What were your favorites, or what was one of your favorite cars that you've owned since you started to collect
Oh
cars?
God, I had oh boy, my first car was a '53 Chevy Bel Air. Then I had a '55 Chevy. That was my first street car. The '53 Chevy was kind of a field car. I live on a farm, so everybody around here, we had field cars. We'd drive around in the field. I still have those. But every car I've ever owned, I've had back in the fields. I had a '55 Chevy, and then I had a '57 Chevy, and then a '63 Chevy, and then I had a '67 Camaro, and then I had a
Ooh.
'40 Buick and a '65 Nova, and a '64, '65, and then I don't know, I had a '64 Dodge and a '65 Plymouth. God, I've had so many cars.
You have an 81 Toronado in your
They torn
yard.
up. Yeah, that was the '68 Mercedes. That was one of my favorite cars. That was my car I had when I was with the band. The '68 S250S. Yeah. Um,
Do you have a favorite? I know you've had a lot of cars. Is there any one that you just, if you could get back again, say,
well,
I want that car back?
the '67 Camaro, the '40 Buick, the
Yeah.
'55 Chevy, there's a lot of them. Yeah, the Mercedes and the Camaro probably what I'd like to have back in.
Okay. And you're driving a Lexus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice car. Craig has a pretty cool car. He needs a good car because he's a fast driver. So, all right. Um, oh, another quote. This is about a car also from SL Swisher. Did you have Alan's coupe at one point?
Oh
His
my
coupe?
God, yeah, the
Yeah.
32 Plymouth three-window coupe. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's probably my top three. Yeah, yeah, I'd like to have
Yeah.
it back. Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of money out of that car.
I remember you told me. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
hold that car, but yeah, I could buy 10 cars for what I got.
Yeah. So he said I don't know where Hartville, but he said a friend of mine from Hartville had his blue coupe he was doing work for somebody with a blue
Yeah,
coupe.
yeah, that's where the guy that bought the 32 Plymouth off of me.
Oh,
We took
oh,
Hartville
okay.
had it done. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
Mm.
righty. I wasn't sure
Amish,
what.
Amish country. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's
where all
Pennsylvania.
the deer stuff came from, Hartville.
Okay. Cool. All right. Um,
That's
next
that. That's
question.
world's. That's where the world's largest privately owned hardware store is.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah.
Hartville, PA?
Hartville, Ohio. Yeah,
Oh, Ohio. Okay.
where I
Okay.
live. Yeah, it's right
Yeah.
10 miles from here.
So you have the Amish population in Ohio?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I know they're in Pennsylvania.
No,
The
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
both of my dogs came from an Amish breeder.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. I've been out there. It's beautiful. I've been out to the Amish country in Pennsylvania. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it
Very
was
nice.
hard because I went there and I went there to because they don't like to have their pictures taken. So I went there to get to see the dogs and I wanted to take a picture and I took a picture and he was holding it in his hands and that's all. I couldn't take a picture of him. I could
Oh.
take a picture of his hands holding the dog. You can take
Aw.
them unless they're working, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. All righty. Okay, the next question is from, oop, I think just slipped. They want to know what it was like to work with Foreigner. Somebody said, Brian Hicks, what was it like to work with Foreigner?
Oh God, I worked with Ian McDonald and Mick Jones, and they were great, man. Ian McDonald, yeah, that was a lot of fun working with him. He was from King Crimson. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, he was the guy that played the horns on King, Court of the Crimson King. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and he played saxophone and he would uh, play guitar and then he'd play sax and he had the sax clipped on him and he would play and then he would turn around and I'd go out and he'd hand it to me, and I'd go, just throw it at me. He I looked at me like I was crazy. I go, oh, I moved this mic away.
That's
I goes,
okay.
I'll catch it. I'll just grab it by the throat when you catch it. So he was real intimidated by it. So it was kind of like the mic stand. It kept getting a little further and further away. And one time we were in Australia and he was up on stage and it was like we were being filmed, and I was down in the crowd and I said, when you get done, just unclip it and just pitch it in the crowd and I'll catch it. And he did, and it was on, and they got it on it. And I told briefed the camera guys to get it, and he just unclipped it and threw it in the crowd and they got it. And he just loved that part. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that
you were
was
talking,
great. Jones.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and Mick Jones, I still talk to Mick. Up until a couple years ago, he still played with Foreigner, and I worked for the Theatrical Stagehand Union, and I would see him. I go, Mick, you still doing that? And he'd go, Craig. He goes, you still doing this? And I goes, I good one to talk. Uh, Yeah, oh,
Oh,
he's a real English gentleman. Mick Jones was. He was real cool. And
okay.
and yeah, Lou Graham was cool too. They were all cool. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking when you were talking about catching the instruments, that's probably because you were such a good baseball player. We were talking last week about what a good baseball player, and when the guys in Skinner would throw you the guitars, you would always catch those guitars because that's what you that was your
I
skill.
have pretty good hand-eye coordination, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you do, definitely. And then somebody asked you, what was the like Jim King? What was it like working with Marshall Tucker and Johnny Colt? Can you talk about that a little bit?
John Coulter. John Coulter.
Oh, Coulter? Oh, okay. I thought it was Johnny
John
Colt.
Coulter, he was one of the roadies for Marshall Tucker and
Oh, okay.
basically the truck driver too. And I will always rode in the I rode I didn't I was like a co-driver and we had like a t-shirt truck, and it had a sleeper in it, and and I was just always in the sleeper. But if John needed needed a driver for a couple hours, I'd pull up and drive. But I was usually in the back with a bottle of whiskey. I had my TV. I had a little apartment back there in the back
Oh,
of the.
really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, John, it was pretty cool. Yeah, John was cool. He still talks to me. He had some kind of a brain tumor or something like that. He calls me every occasionally. Still talks to me. Yeah.
What about working with Marshall Tucker Band? What was that like on the road with them?
With Doug, well, I only worked with Doug. And he's the
Okay.
still with him. And then when I was with him, it was just Doug and Jerry Eubanks, the guy that played the horns, and those were the only two original members. But that
Okay.
was 80, 83, 84. I started working with Marshall Tucker.
All right. So after you left the Alan Collins band, you went directly right from there to Marshall Tucker?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, good. And then somebody, Derek Collins, wants to know if you ever toured with either April Wine or the Guess Who, either of those bands?
Yeah, we did. I remember I vividly doing a couple of shows with those guys way back a long time ago.
Do you have any memories of working with them or?
That barely remember.
Okay. All right. Understandably. Do you ever speak to Kevin Elson?
Every occasionally, occasionally. I used to see him when when he was touring and I was still working with the stagehand union. He would come through and when he worked with Van Halen or Van Morrison and Michael Jackson and all those and Julian Lennon and
Oh
all the,
man.
all those big acts that he always worked for. He used to always get a hold of me, and I would always go and sit with him out at the soundboard, for all those bands that he worked for. It was pretty cool.
I wish you had kept a memoir, Craig, of all of these experiences. I'm telling you, that would, you have so many good memories and so many experiences. Oh my goodness. Great. Really. All right. Um, do you remember? So about a month ago, we had Barbara Bulow Carter on the show.
Oh
Remember? And she
yeah,
was talking about, she was at the house when I met Alan. And so her husband was Tal Carter. One thing that we didn't talk about or ask you was, how did Tal meet Alan?
Tal was neighbors with Raymond Watkins, who was friends with all the 38 and everybody, he Raymond was eventually Lynyrd Skynyrd's drum roadie, and he was drum roadie for 38 Special as well. And Tal was a neighbor of Raymond, and I'm not sure, but I would assume that that's how they met. I would only assume that.
Okay. So Barbara said she met Tal when she was, I think, in the Virgin Islands. I think she said she went there right after high school. That's how she met him.
Mhm.
Okay. Interesting. And Raymond was married to Dale Krantz, correct? Okay. Yeah.
Brief, yeah.
Yeah. Because Barbara had pictures she sent me of a birthday party for guess it was her house, and Dale was sitting there at the table, and Gary's wife Martha was at the table, and Allison and Amy and her son. It was so cool. It was an old picture just in her house. Really, really cool. All right. So now there are a couple of questions about the plane crash. People still want to know. They're still asking. Chuck Randall wants to know, at the time of the plane crash, where were you sitting on the plane?
I was sitting on the right side of the plane, and basically in the back at that card table back there, and I was facing the back of the plane.
You
Yeah,
were
I was
facing the back of the plane. Okay.
on the rear side of the wing.
Okay.
The back of the plane, yeah.
All right. And then John Bert Lozinski, he said he's asking, why couldn't the survivors of the plane crash sue the company that leased the plane?
Well, it's L&S leasing, and I don't I'm still I guess I would guess I was so in shock.
Of course.
I don't really remember ever even considering suing the band,
Yeah.
and there was only $1.5 million of insurance on the plane, and I never looked for somebody guilty of there should have been more money and we should have got more. I just never thought about it,
Right.
and I know we've talked about it before,
Yeah.
even. I was best friends with Gary and Alan when Rossington Collins was reformed, and at that time, I guess that would have been the best time to start considering maybe um, trying to do something with the forgotten survivors that we're currently trying to do something for, and it was just something that was never even brought up or mentioned, and I never even thought of
Mhm.
it or anything like that, and it was just, there's like I said before, at that time there was so many people involved. It's hard for anybody to step up and accept any kind of responsibility because you're just opening up a can of worms for for the whole thing. But yeah, it was just really never thought of, and by Gary and Allen, and then when it came up to the tribute, band thing, it was just something that nobody ever thought about,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Then all of a sudden I started doing a podcast, and then people knew that I was selling stuff on eBay, and all of a sudden people started accusing me of selling stuff on eBay, and said the things that was selling on eBay I should somehow donate to the survivors of the Skynyrd plane crash. And I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
everybody started looking for me to support the survivors of the plane crash, and I'm
Mhm.
going, okay, I guess. So then I started doing this podcast, and they said, well, what are you going to do when you become a millionaire from this podcast? I'm going to give all the money to the survivors like you guys want me to,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know so
But never mind all the time and effort that you put into this show, but your intention was never to
after
make it
after
profitable for you, for yourself.
45 years, I've been saddled for to be the one to support survivors, and everybody forgets that I'm a survivor too.
Yeah. Well, you have a place in heaven for you, Craig, I'm
All the
sure.
things that I put away, saved all my life. I'm supposed to um, sell and support everybody with.
Well, I don't think the question was why didn't they sue the band members? I guess whomever they leased the plane from, wasn't there somebody that, I mean, today in this day and age, people
Oh
would
yeah, if
take
that would have
on
happened
that.
today,
Yeah.
everybody on that plane would be
Oh yeah. Oh
millionaires.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
But
kind of got lost in my scenario there,
that's
but
okay.
had Ronnie lived, there's no way Ronnie would have let this happen. Let all these people that are, I mean, like me. I'm not. I mean, I got some brain damage and stuff, but and I'm not really. I'm. it affected me, mentally, and I mean, I was in shock for years and years and years. But made it, and there's a lot of us that really don't need any assistance, but there's a few of those people. I mean, Mark Howard, he's in the hospital right now, facing his leg being amputated, and Kenny Peden just passed away
Yeah, very
last week.
sad.
But we can't blame that on the plane crash. I think Kenny was a smoker, and
Yeah,
that's probably what took him out. What took Joe Osborne out a few years ago, I don't know if it had anything to do with the plane crash or whatever, but got a few people that could use some help. Mark Frank, Mark Howard, Paul Welsh. I mean, those people could use some help. Leslie Hawkins.
yeah. Well, there are people out there who have the ability to help them without having you and Griff and
That was
everybody do all this. That's the way it
never
is. That's the way
thought
it's been.
of,
So,
but that was never thought of. But my God,
right.
it seems like since I've started to help these people, all I'm getting is a bunch of people trying to discredit everything I do. I feel like Donald
Yeah.
Trump. I feel like I got a hard target on my back.
Well,
All of a sudden, everything I do is for some ulterior motive or whatever. That I don't know.
yeah.
Kind
Haters
of.
gonna hate. That's why I suggested don't even mention the names of the few negative people because there's so many supporters and people out here who love all of your efforts. That's why I like to give shout outs to all the positive people and not even mention the
I just
negative
can't
people.
believe I'm
They don't
getting all
deserve the attention.
grief for trying to help these people. I mean,
Yeah,
whether somebody else should have helped them up to this point or not is there here nor there, but I'm trying to help. Leave me alone, man.
I know.
I mean, you try to put up a thing for rocking for a reason, and people are threatening people for showing up because they don't like me because I sold Gary Rossington my best friend's funeral brochure to try to raise money to help one of the forgotten survivors. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't win, Craig. You can't please everybody. So you just have to do what is in your heart and and you're doing the right thing. And there are a lot of people who love you and support you. So forget about the few that are negative people. Forget about it. I wouldn't even keep them. They're dead to you. So, all right. All right. So people are always asking, we know that you are the crew that had a go with one of the guests.
Mhm.
No matter how many times you tell that story, people still want to know what's the story. So now we're going to go down on record, podcast 94. If anybody asks this question, go back to podcast 94 and read it and stop asking. Tell us the story of what happened that night
Okay,
in the hotel
that was
room 50
40
years ago.
44 years ago,
Yeah.
many, 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 many buzzes ago.
And tell us with exact detail everything what happened.
All I remember was after the show, I went back to the hotel, and it was after the loadout, and I came in the hotel, and I went by the bar to see what was going on in the bar, and I just kind of popped my head in the bar, and and I said, well, I'll take my stuff up to my room and I'll come back down, and I was leaving the bar, and Ronnie was coming out of the bar with some woman in one hand and a bottle of booze in the other hand, and stuck $200 in my pocket. said to go in there and take care of that guy in there. He says, go take care of my light work. He said something to me I don't like, but I'm kind of busy here. I got other things that monkey, go take care of my light work in there. So I went in there and just, it wasn't really a lot. I just went in there and sat next to the guy and we kind of got in a fight, I guess. And it didn't last long. I mean, because it got broke up and then we got all of us got thrown out of the bar. But, Ronnie heard that we'd got in a fight and we all got thrown out of the bar, and he kind of knew what happened. He knew that I had started it, back at the hotel where we got such a mess. It seemed that Drew had to go with one of the guests. Now the police say we can't drink in the bar.
What
What
a
is your name?
shame.
What's your There's girl, have a drink of champagne. But it's like
Your name.
I've said before, a lot of these stories, they're 50 years old. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And they're really just nothing really. They're just legends, rumors or whatever. It's like when Barney cut his finger and
Oh, yeah.
2 hours finger on his gun and 2 hours
Yeah, your
Barney,
microphone.
yeah,
Your
Barney
mic
had,
is cutting out a little. All right.
yeah, Barney had cut his finger, cleaned his gun, and Andy went to get some stuff at the pharmacy, and the women heard him, and 2 hours later, that Barney was dead and shot himself.
Well, I think it's because the song is so famous and so well known. And, I guess people wonder who was the one who said, "What's your name?" Was it you or was it Ronnie? Or did you both say that?
Well, I used to always say it, well, because what was your name? You can't remember. You pick up these women and you've been drinking, and you wake up in the morning and every morning it's a different one, and you go, what was your name? I just call them baby and sweetie and sugar and whatever.
Yeah.
What was your name?
When I come back here next year, I want to see you again, right?
Yeah. Even that town, you try to figure out what the real name was.
Yeah.
What was your name again?
Your mic is cutting out a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes it skips some of the words. Just check the placement of the mic. All right.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so we've already answered it again. This is a question of mine. It's about jewelry. I know Gary always wore the necklace with the cross, but did any of the other guys anywhere any kind of jewelry, wedding rings, watches, necklaces, earrings, anything like that? Did anybody wear anything?
Billy wore rings,
Mhm.
chains and stuff, and Alan didn't wear anything. He didn't wear rings or nothing
Right.
like that. Artemis never wore any jewelry. Steve didn't really wear any jewelry. Ronnie didn't really wear any rings or jewelry. He just, kind of wore those big conch belts and, you know,
Yeah. What about watches? Did any of them wear a watch?
no,
No.
Leon
Okay.
wore watches, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think I recall seeing Leon wear a watch on his left hand, left wrist, but I don't recall. And just Gary always had the cross pendant. He seemed to always wear.
Gary wore rings, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, they weren't really into jewelry. None of
Okay.
them.
All right. All right. Jeff Wagner is asking, did Skinner ever play any private parties?
No.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
All right. Now there are some questions about the equipment that they used. Okay. And I asked you this the other day and you said, I've already answered that, but we're going to ask it again. Don Eric Evans. Did Gary use any pedals?
No, he used a phase 90 on Mr. Breeze right at the beginning, of the song. I would push the button,
Hmm. Yeah.
and then I'd click it off just at the beginning of the song. He used a phase 90, and
Okay.
he'd always have it. He always had it on the floor, and we'd have to run on the floor. And I told him instead of coming back here to your amp and hitting that button, I'll just put it up here on the top and I'll hit it. And he said, well, you got to hit it in a spurt right at the spurting part, or when you hit it, it'll go through the PA click. So
Hmm.
I had to hit it right at the exact spot.
And
But
you
he'd
got it, right? You nailed it.
always look back at me and make sure I was there to.
Correct. Are you there, Craig?
You know,
All right.
Jack.
Now,
Yeah.
this one is from Harold C. Finch. Which guitar required the most setup attention?
The Stratocasters, I guess, either Steve's, yeah, the Strats are always a little more finicky than the Gibsons. The Gibsons more or less just stay in tune and stuff. But the Strats
Okay.
are anything with a little shaker bar on it, kind of the regular Fender tremolos are a little shaky.
What string brands did they use?
Dean Markley.
Okay. And did they ever break any strings?
They used 10, 13, 17, 26, 36, and 46. And no, that we never broke any strings, maybe once, because I changed them every day. Except
Okay.
for the Strat, they only, on songs they played every day for more than 3 songs. They only played it a couple songs, I only changed them every couple days. But on a song,
Okay.
most of the guitars, the strings got changed every day.
Those strings that were changed would be so valuable today. Can you imagine the demand for those strings? There's a website that sells guitar string jewelry. Um, and I bought pieces from her, but she makes jewelry out of new guitar strings. But imagine, I know Heather Langley, I think her name is. She makes jewelry, right? But imagine what she can make out of those used guitar strings. Oh my goodness! Imagine. Wow. All right. This question's from JT Lefevre. How did the Survivor guitars come about? Where were they made, and did you keep any?
Well, cousin Figel has one that I'm.
Mhm.
He said he's gonna send back to me. This is really cool, but yeah, I don't have any. Uh, I just thought about doing them and thought about a name, and then just kind of respelled Survivor, and I've spelled Syrvyvyr is how I spelled
Mhm.
Survivor Guitars, Syrvyvyr, kind of
Mhm.
like using the all Y's and R's, like Lynyrd Skynyrd, Y's and R's. Survivor Guitars. Yeah, I made 50 of them, and yeah, people loved them. But yeah, I made them in basically for a couple years, and back in 2000, 2009, 10, 11, I guess, about 3 years, something like that. I mean,
Mhm. You got rid of all of them?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, James Hughes, Cowbell. Why did they only use cowbell in only one song?
But I don't know. You have to ask
Ask
Artemis.
Artemis. Artemis, if you're listening, tell us why you only used it in Give Me Three Steps. You know, Craig, you're supposed to know the answers to everything, really. Okay. Got a couple of Ronnie questions. Ready? Three questions. Terry White. Do you remember Ronnie getting shot?
No, we talked about that before, and Gene Odom talked about it. I guess Ronnie got shot. God, I can't even remember. Where did he get shot in the foot or something? I can't even remember now. And somebody said that Donnie shot him. Well, Gene Odom said Donnie shot him accidentally, I guess.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
Yeah,
That
I
was an
can't.
accident. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Howard Matthew Doris says, tell us the story of how Ronnie got the black eye on the bus.
Well, that was in San Francisco, and that was one of those times when I wasn't there, and me and that was when I told this story before. Me and
Mhm.
Dean out in San Francisco, and we were staying at that Miyaka, the Japanese hotel, and me and Dean were down in the restaurant, and that was when Patty Hearst had went and robbed that bank, and the police were looking for her, and they came in and were talking to her and asking us questions about Patty Hearst, and me and Dean were down in the restaurant, and we decided we were going to go out and go just see San Francisco on our own and let the band go out and do their bar thing or whatever. We were going to go somewhere else, and they went out to some bar and had the bus there, and they were outside in the parking lot, and Ronnie and them were on the bus, and somebody was out there, and Ronnie went out and said something. I guess somebody. I don't. I guess Al. I don't know. I wasn't there. It's a long time ago. Ronnie went out there and thought he was going to kick somebody's ass and got his ass kicked.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Ronnie, the guy hit Ronnie faster than put knots on Ronnie's head faster than he could rub them.
I wonder what Ronnie said to the guy,
I
you
don't
know? Wow,
really
we
got a
don't
couple
know.
minors, man. I remember I saw the
Yeah,
after. Ronnie had the bunk right above me, and I'd get up in the
yeah.
morning. Boy, he had some eyes, boy. They were shiny.
I remember seeing that picture. I think there was a picture of him with Linda Blair when he had the shiners.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. All right. Um, Ben Gibson wants to know, did Ronnie always go barefoot on stage? But he said he wore shoes when they opened up for the Who. Now, I know I read that Ronnie wanted to feel the stage burn. That's what he said. That's why he went barefoot. But did he ever wear shoes?
He could back in the early days, before they had monitors. Well, I what I heard was in Muscle Shoals, the way the studio was situated or whatever, he could feel when they played, when they were recording, and he said he could feel it in his feet.
Mhm.
Kind of That's where he kind of got started with doing that, because he could feel it in his feet without shoes. So I heard, but I always assumed it was because before they got big and everything, before they had monitors, you can feel the kick drum on
Mhm.
the floor and your feet. I imagine he kept time, with from the bass drum hitting the vibration and the bass, the bass and the drums. That's kind of the rhythm of the song. So I thought
Yeah.
feel that in his feet.
But he didn't normally walk around barefoot. It was only for right. Okay. So he would just take his shoes off when they would go on stage and put his
At
shoes in
home
the
in
car.
Jacksonville, he went barefooted a lot, just running
Oh,
around.
he did? Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Got a question about Alan, my favorite. And I love Alan questions. Tim Maney. Why did Alan like Molly Hatchet? I heard you say he punched a reporter in the face for asking if he was going to be a guitarist for Molly Hatchet.
Why did he dislike Molly Hatchet?
Oh yeah, why didn't he like Molly Hatchet? Right.
I don't know. I just I don't he just uh, um I think it was just Lubeck. I think I
Yeah.
told this think
Hmm.
I told the story one time where we were in the tornado that Alan gave me, and we were in St. Augustine, and we seen Lubeck in his Corvette, and Alan was going, ram him, just ram him. I'll pay for it, just ram him. So, but yeah, Alan, he just ram him.
Was it true that he punched somebody in the face for asking if he was going to be a guitarist
I
for?
wasn't there, so I didn't.
Okay. All right. Is that something like Alan would do?
No, no,
No. Okay.
no.
All right. Hmm. All right. Um, some questions about the band's antics, their partying, their drinking, all that kind of stuff. Steve Jones, he says, looking at the bus footage of which you recorded, obviously, these are all your videos. Ronnie always seemed kind of mellow on the bus while the other members were partying. Ronnie was usually just playing poker, whatever. Was that how Ronnie always was? Or did he ever get into the shenanigans on the
No,
buses?
no, yeah, he was mostly pretty contained, I guess is the word you would use.
Okay. Because I
Yeah.
know that was it Leon who would shoot the spitballs in
Oh, yeah.
Billy's hair but yeah, Ronnie was usually just sitting, from what I can imagine, smiling, playing cards, that kind of thing. All
He
right.
was he was kind of I would uh 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 I don't know. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but he's kind of he was always uh, analyzing the environment, I guess, trying to writing songs.
Yeah.
He tried to uh, watch what people were doing and write a hook line around it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
kind of
could,
how
yeah.
like that song, "You Got That Right." I thought what I said that came from a bus driver, and then anytime you'd ever say anything to him, he'd go, "You got that shit right." He was always, looking for someone to do something or say something that he could write a song about.
Exactly.
No, and he was always trying to analyze the current situation and trying to write songs, I guess, just trying to, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
every minute he could.
yeah. All
You know,
right.
that one video from my films, and we're all on the bus smoking hash and partying and stuff, and Ronnie's just sitting there looking out the window. You
Mhm.
know.
That song, all I could do is write about it, right?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful song. Love it. All right, your friend Jerry Birchie.
Hmm.
Uh, what did the guys and girls, the Honkats, drink and smoke while they were playing live? When they were on the stage, I know Gary had the cigarette in his hand. Alan, you said, used to hold it light. He used to take a puff, whatever. But I remember seeing beer cans, cups on the stage. What did they do while they were playing on the stage?
The individual guys, well, Billy just drank beer. Uh,
While he was playing?
mhm.
Okay. All right.
And the rest of them drank Jack and Coke. Well,
While
I
they were
put
drinking? Okay,
had a,
playing music.
they had a mixture of stuff. You know, if Ronnie
Okay.
had a sore throat or something, we give him hot tea with honey in it. But he always had, you know, Crown Royal or whiskey, and you know, you give them. They always had an array of, you know, a beer, a Coke, and a shot, or you know, just you know, ask them what they wanted before the show, and then just put it there.
Okay. What about the Honkettes? Did they drink anything?
Or before the show, you just had them what they want to drink, and you
Yeah.
know.
But what
Oh,
about while they were performing? Did they ever have a need to have a cup or anything nearby? Did they have to smoke a cigarette during the songs, or what was that like?
the band, yeah, the band, you know, they always they had an ashtray. And I started this. They had an ashtray on the top of their amp,
Yeah.
and in songs, if it wasn't me, somebody would light a cigarette and stick it up there for them. After you know, after you know, sometimes you know, if the you know the drum roadie be sitting there, you know, and whoever might be, and you know, when Gary would come back to get a cigarette, if they would see he need a cigarette, they let you know. It's a team. It's a team
hmm
effort. If
Yeah.
somebody's,
Yeah.
you know, see, you know, everybody knows what needs to be done, and they just kind of do it
Okay.
for everybody, you know.
All right. What about
That
the girls while they were performing? Did the girls have
was
anything while
just,
they were performing?
was just drink water, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
It's good to know. Right.
Joe might have a little drink.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. All right. Uh Jimmy J. Smith. Did they ever play a show where they shared the stage with any hard rock or metal bands?
They
Lynyrd
played with Black
Skynyrd.
Sabbath once,
They
and
did.
that
Okay.
opened up for Black Sabbath. Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, it was like it was the worst crowd response I ever heard.
Of
Uh,
course.
Entered get, and it was funny because somebody right in the front was. They, they would finish a song, and they were somebody right in the front was yelling Black Sabbath the whole set, and after they were done, Leon had a blank gun, and after the set, Leon went and pulled his blank gun out of it and shot the guy about 6 times. They thought I had a heart attack. That was hilarious.
Good thing those were blanks. Can you imagine? Any other bands? Did they share the stage with any other?
Not hard rock band. That Black Sabbath is about the only one that
All
was
right.
like
All
that.
right. Cool. All right. What about now you and I talked about this actually this week. I asked you this question, but I'm going to ask it on the podcast. Jeff wants to know. So when the for at the Fox Theater, they played for 3 nights.
Mhm.
Did they play the same set every night that you recall?
Did I recall? Yeah, they might have threw one song in for to try it, and I don't know, but yeah, from what I recall, it was the same set every night. Yeah.
So from those 3 performances, they chose songs for one more from the road. So was it just they pulled the best song out of each performance, or did they
Oh
do
no, I think
whole thing?
they chose the best performance of the night.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
the whole. I don't think they picked and choose songs
Okay.
from each night. It was a continuation. They just chose the whole, whichever was the best night.
The best night. Oh, that's good. It's good
Yeah,
to know. I wasn't sure. I thought they kind of picked the
yeah.
best songs. Okay, very good. It's good to hear. All right. Now, Craig, do you remember some? This is from Christopher Russell. There was a show back in at the Lacrosse uh theater or whatever in Wisconsin. It was actually September 26th of 1976. Tommy Bolin was on stage with the band. He was jamming with the band. Do you remember that? Wants to know if you remember that at all.
Tommy Bolin, he was with T-Rex, wasn't he?
Yep. Yes, he was.
I kind of barely remember that. Yeah,
Okay.
barely
All
remember.
right. Anything about partying with them, playing with them, if you remember anything about that
No,
night.
no.
Okay. All right. All right. Now there are two questions about the Honkettes. Okay. First question is talk about them a little bit. What can you tell us about more about the Honkettes and how did they get along with each other? And were you close to any of the girls?
Um, I was good friends with all the girls. I probably ran around with JoJo the most. And I was and Cassie and I, Cassie was a pot smoker, so me and her smoked a lot of pot together, and me and Leslie were like friends, but and we were like buddies, I guess. I mean, it was just like a family thing, I mean, we were just, you know, yeah, we were all friends, we just, we were coworkers and friends, and I guess I didn't, I was probably partied the most with JoJo and Cassie because they were pot smokers, but I spent a little bit of time with Leslie, but not a lot. We were just kind of friends.
Well,
But
what about
I
the
probably
girls?
knew Leslie the longest because I knew her from when she was a singer with Wet Willie, and
Mhm.
we started playing shows with Wet Willie in '74, and you know
What made her leave Wet Willie and come to Skinner? Do you know?
uh,
Okay.
probably because Skinner was a lot bigger than Wet Willie. I don't know. I don't know that. Yeah, I'm not
But what
sure.
about just looking at the three girls, different personalities? I mean, do you think they were friends or was it more just like this was a job and they performed together? Did they hang out together, the three girls, or what do you think?
Um, Not really. JoJo was wilder than the other
Mhm.
two. Yeah, they got. I mean, they got along with each other, but they didn't really hang around with each other all that much.
Okay. Right. Right. All right. The next question is about Ben Gibson wants to know, going back to the tribute tour, how come Leslie and JoJo were not asked to join the tribute tour? Do you have any idea?
Well, I probably assume that they didn't want to get that involvement with Alan and JoJo rekindled anymore.
Yeah, but Alan wasn't a musician on the tribute tour. He was like the musical director, wasn't he? For the tribute tour.
Yeah, 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 that, I mean, that, I don't know. I don't know. It just,
Okay.
I probably had to do with JoJo. I would imagine that they just didn't want those two
Okay.
together, and probably if they would bring in Leslie, then JoJo would. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really know the
All right.
specific.
So there were reasons of which we do not really
I
know.
guess,
There were
yeah.
reasons. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, this is a question about Bob Burns. Brian Jarvis, what was Bob Burns like that you can remember? What kind
Bob
of a
was.
guy was he?
Me and Bob got along good. In the beginning, and he was great up until he saw The Exorcist and something
Mhm.
snapped.
Yeah, I remember that story.
I mean, that was a real brief period. I mean, God, I was only with, I started with, I basically got hired January 1st, uh, January 1st, 1974 was basically my first official day. And Bob only lasted till August, September, October of that same year. So my relationship with him with Skinner only lasted 9 or 10 months, and he was
Mhm.
by them he was flipped out and gone,
You
gone.
think The Exorcist is what had a
But
big impact on him? Was that,
That's kind of trip. He
my
was he
goodness.
he was involved with some woman, and that relationship was kind of rocky, and then it wasn't good, and he was kind of freaked out about that, and then The Exorcist. I don't know. I think it probably was a combination of a few things. I'm not a psychiatrist, so
No. Well,
probably
just what you we're not asking why, we're asking, what was your
he had emotional, but he had some
okay.
issues. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mel Doc, which band member did most groupies flock to? And you're no, because you're the one who gave out the special passes, right? Who did they want to see? Ronnie, Allen, or Gary?
Funny, yeah,
Ronnie?
funny, yeah,
Okay. So do you think that he had the most groupies? Was Ronnie?
yeah, yeah.
Really? Oh,
Leon, yeah,
really? Yeah. Interesting. I would have thought Allen. That's the only one I would have flocked toward. All right. Who do you think this is from Les Evie? I know Les is Leslie. I made a mistake of referring to Les as he, Les Evie. Who is the nicest person? Just overall, just nicest personality. I guess it's a real general question, but maybe
Steve,
just
Steve,
Dean. Oh,
Steve.
Steve. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Um, two questions about Ed. Doris 1755. Did Ed King ever live with Ronnie and Judy that you know of?
Briefly, I think for a couple weeks, I think briefly.
Okay. Do you know why he lived with them?
But I was in that apartment, that small apartment they had. It was right. It was right. It was right when they went and picked Ronnie up or Ed up. They went and got him, picked him up, and brought him back to
Okay.
Jack. I think he
So
lived
this was when he first joined the band. It was like a temporary place to stay.
for a couple.
Okay. All right.
Kind of broke.
Now,
I think Ed was kind of broke, and they went and got him, picked him up, and brought him to Jacksonville. He stayed with Ronnie for a couple months, couple weeks, or whatever.
but I don't understand something. So he had previously been with Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yeah, but the management took all the money.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Do you know who the management company was? Any idea?
No, but
Okay.
what I understand, they never made anything off that. The management took all the money.
What a shame. I wanted to, all right. Rick Droder, he said, you said Ed got you the job, but what was your relationship with after, he's the one who you met, introduced you to Ronnie. What was your relationship with Ed after that, after you joined the band?
Well, Ed got me hired, but Ed wasn't a pot smoker.
Mm.
And it's just like Gary and Alan and Billy, we're all pot smokers, and
Mm.
I kind of more or less, all the potheads all kind of just gravitated together. So yeah, me and Gary and Alan kind of you know, kind of hung out together a lot, you know.
But I recall seeing some
Gary,
pictures
Gary
of
and
Ed.
Alan, Gary and Alan were kind of inseparable, and they roomed in the same room. So when I went to visit either Gary or Alan, I was visiting both of them, you know.
Okay.
So I hung around with Gary and Alan most of the time, yeah.
But I was saying I've seen pictures of Ed partaking in some pot smoking. I've definitely seen pictures of Ed.
God, I don't remember Ed smoking pot.
I will send you the pictures. I will
Okay.
send him 100% sure I saw some pictures. Yes. Yeah. Anybody has any, please send them to me. I definitely saw them.
I
We're all,
thought him it was something that he did.
yeah.
He didn't do it often. He smoked cigarettes, so
No, I don't think this was a cigarette, but I'll check that out. So we're
probably
almost, I'm
why
sorry,
he's
go
not
ahead.
this anymore because he smoked those dang cigarettes.
Yeah. Cancer sticks. That's what I call them. Cancer sticks. So we're almost at the end. We've been on for about an hour and a half. There was one last group of questions, and they're about me. Somebody says, well, Duck Dog 1104 said, who do you like, Kathy? So I assume he's referring to music. And I would answer that with one, classic rock, primarily. Classic rock. And then so Jeff Wagner said, Kathy, we would enjoy hearing about your hobbies, interests, family, and your cats. What do the kids and teachers at your school think of your podcast and your love for Lynyrd Skynyrd? Okay, I'm going to answer that. I want to know about me. I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, and I have cats. That's it. Not going to tell you how many cats I have. And then with regard to what do my kids and teachers at my school, they don't know. I don't talk about that. But I have mentioned this once before. I use the big J Touch, the smart board. And when I turn on the smart board and I click on YouTube, you know how it comes up with all those clips of other videos? And on more than one occasion, one of the videos that comes up will be Kathy GODSEY, the STONED Roadie. And my students will, Miss Kathy, what are you doing up there? And I just change the browser. I don't want anybody to know my business. I love doing what I do, but no, I don't introduce that into the classroom. I teach special education kids, and I don't introduce that. So that's all. That's all that you need to know about me. I have cats. But I love doing this, and I love being part of it. And I have a busy schedule, but I'll always make time to do this. So, and I love working with Craig, and I love having gotten to know you over the past couple of years. You're a cool person. You're a good person. You
Oh,
really
thank
are. You have a lot of wonderful qualities, and I think you are honest. We were talking last week about your qualities. You're definitely an honest person. So I'm very blessed to have you in my life.
oh,
So there.
thank you. Blessed. I probably do.
So
You
that brings
help
what?
me. You help me through my life occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally I do take your advice.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing. The question that guy asked about me, he said, do you ever listen to Blackberry Smoke, the band Blackberry Smoke? You
Yeah.
know, um, yeah, I had heard of them. I didn't really know anything about them, but I checked them out before on YouTube. They're good. Blackberry Smoke is a good band. And I saw they did a cover of Revival. The Allman Brothers song, very good. So yeah, Blackberry Smoke. I'm gonna check them out a
And
little
they've
more. But
been working with Jimmy Hall too with Wet Willie. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, good band. I don't know if they're still playing or what. I have no idea what their status is, but if they come around here, to New Jersey, I'll definitely go check them out. Yeah. So that's it. We covered a lot of stuff today. Craig, is there anything else that you wanted to mention or talk about?
No, no. I think
Okay.
we about covered everything.
So I will return and do a Saturday night special whenever you'd like me to. This is
Oh
94.
yeah. I think. Well, wait a minute. This next. Wait a minute. It's September the 4th. Yeah, September the 4th. We're gonna do a live, um, uh, uh, YouTube live at in Virginia at that marina down there
Oh,
of Six Gun, Zach Lane's and Six Gun at the marina. And we're gonna have it another Stone Roadie show live, and then that's Monday the September the 4th, and Saturday September the 2nd. We're gonna do a Saturday Night Live with me and Griff Martin and Zach Lane and Savannah
okay.
and Nick are gonna do a pre-show for the for the what is it, Memorial Day weekend show at the marina.
Labor Day weekend.
For day
So
week.
see what you need me for. You see what you need. Now, wait a minute. So a week from today is September 2nd. That's Saturday, September 2nd. Now, you and Griff are going to Virginia for this? You're driving out there?
I'm not driving out there. Automotive.
Oh, okay. Jeff is going out there. Okay. So he's going to film the show and then stream it, I guess, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All righty. Good. All right. So then a couple of weeks, I'll come back and we'll do another one. Got any more questions? Send them to me, send them to Craig. We welcome all the questions and clearing up any misinformation. And
we're creeping up on show number 100.
Yeah, that's right. Crazy. It's crazy. But where's the other? You got both your little puppies there, or you just have
Leon, he finally woke up and come in.
Oh, what a little sweetheart. Oh my goodness. And I was just showing you before, I have some rocks for Craig. So I'll have to mail these. You know, New Jersey, we have plenty of rocks. If anybody's looking for rocks, come out here. They're all over the place. There's no shortage of rocks like there is in Ohio. So at some point, I'm going to mail these to you. You can add them to your rock collection statues.
All righty then. I guess we're done then, huh?
Yeah, but you have to sing. When you're with me, you do live. I want to hear Happy Trails live.
Oh God, yeah. You know, the last time we did this and I sang, you know, I said, you know, if you're gonna sing, you should at least try to sing. I was going, God, Craig, you ought to at least try, you know. But okay, anyways. me. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. This has been podcast 94 of the Stoned Roadie Show with your host Craig Reed and my co-host, the lovely Kathy GODSEY. Until the next time on the Stoned Roadie Show, happy trails to you. Until we meet again, happy trails to you. Keep token until then. And see you later, alligator, at the wild crocodile.
And may the good Lord take a liking to you.
May the good Lord take a liking. I guess. And see you later. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, how do we do this here? I gotta hit one of these things here. Oh, let me see. Oh, I hit that one, and then I hit that one. That's right.
You're still recording.